every possible option is being considered to protect a British hostage being held by Islamic State militants.
The world can be a scary place, with the threat of terrorist attacks, fear of wars, or outbreaks of diseases like Ebola.
With the latest figures showing nearly 5,000 people infected with the virus, President Obama is now calling it a potential threat to global security.
Most of us manage to carry on our daily lives despite these potential problems, but not all of us. For some, that is not an option. It's extremely naive. Instead, they think we need to prepare and plan to make our future safe, right now. Actually, we should have been doing it years ago. These people, who are mostly men, are called preppers.
Hi, Benjamin.
Hey Roach, how's it going?
It's all good, mate. I'm done in the dentist. I'm not scared of anything in this world except the dentist.
Well, I am glad that you survived. I'm very glad you survived. So I'm calling you because I'm near the shop, the prepper shop, and I just need to figure out what to put in my bag.
Yeah, no problems, mate. I mean, you need a method of making fire. The next thing you must have is a container that you can boil water in. And the fundamental thing is, the more knowledge you have, the less things you need.
So as a man with currently no knowledge, I need everything.
You're going to have a big bag.
I'm going to rock and roll now. I'm going to head there.
Yeah, go. No problems at all. See you Friday.
So, in a bid to potentially survive the apocalypse, I am on my way to learn a bit more about the world of prepping. A kind prepper called Roach, also known as Michael, has offered to show me the ropes. But first, I'm heading to the UK's only prepping shop, conveniently called the Prepper Shop, to pick up some supplies and to find out a bit more about what this all is. I think this is the place. He even has a pickup truck with the Confederate flag in dice in his window. This is going to be interesting.
How we doing, mate?
Hey,
right?
Lincoln, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
I made
good to see
it.
you. Thanks for coming up.
Well, no problem. So is this the only prepping shop in the UK?
Currently in Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, we're the only one still.
Can you show me around?
I certainly can.
So a large proportion of it is just like kind of practical stuff. Handcuffs is a bit strange. Why would you need handcuffs when the world is... Who are you going to handcuff?
I suppose that's more of a case if it's rioting and you're in trouble, you had to protect yourself.
There are a whole host of knives.
We do.
It seems like knives are an integral part to the prepping experience.
If you're in the woods in a survival situation, a knife is essential.
You have some pretty hefty knives. Are you not concerned that some people might be using these for ulterior motives? Because this one is pretty terrifying, like stuff like this.
Yeah, but I would have thought if someone was, they're going to buy a $2.99 kitchen knife or grab something from their kitchen.
The law says in order to carry knives like these, you need good reason to do so. And it's safe to say preppers carrying knives as big as these in public would find it hard to have reason.
I'm going on a bugging out trip with a man called Roach, who's a prepper. What is bugging out?
Bugging out is a scenario's happened and you've got to leave your house. You can't stay. It's been compromised or something like that. It's flooded or you have to get out. So you've got a bag pre-packed with everything you need that you could disappear off somewhere where people aren't going to find you and you can be on your own.
To just like hibernate for the rest of... until things get
for
better,
a couple of
basically.
days, yeah.
Lincoln Miles is the owner of what he calls Europe's only prepping shop. In other words, he makes money from people worrying about catastrophes. Something he's okay with, as he sees it no differently to owning an insurance company. His shop stocks food, gas masks, clothes in case of nuclear war, and even crossbows.
What is the crossbow used for?
Probably more for hunting in the worst case scenario. If there's a complete sort of social breakdown, the laws are gone, you can't eat. You can hunt an animal with it.
Do you think that's how bad things could get? Like, is this what people are preparing for? Like, you will need to arm yourselves with a crossbow to ensure survival?
I mean, people generally underestimate how easily it would go to pot if something happened. Quite how easy social breakdown would occur. People go to extreme lengths if their family is starving and they can't eat or drink.
Knives and crossbows aren't the only controversial thing in Lincoln's shop. On the other side of the room, and tattooed onto his arm, is the Confederate flag.
Confederate flag?
Yeah, it'll be like, why do you have one?
A flag from the American Civil War that some link with racism, but not Lincoln.
It's about relying on yourself and not relying on someone else, the government, any other services, even your neighbour. It's not relying on anyone else to help you out in a scenario.
Do you think we trust the government too much?
Yeah, I think in general, yeah. I mean, we believe a lot what we're told, and a lot of it isn't true, and I don't think a lot of it's going to happen. So yeah, you've got to rely on yourself.
On the other side of the shop that day was another prepper, Pete Stanford. As well as being a prepper, Pete works as a motivational life coach in the south of England, and he agreed to help me pick up some supplies.
So I need something that can create a fire.
Okay.
Something that is a container, a steel water.
As we were doing so though, we got to talking about how he'd handled the collapse of society, and it turns out it's with a canoe. So I asked him to show me how.
All right, I'll follow you wherever's best.
There's many different examples of bugging out, either in the woods, terra firma. You know, this isn't the only version that I would do.
So the idea is basically that via canoe there's going to be less people. You know, via the
Yes.
waterways there's not going to be that many people on
Yeah.
the waterways. So you are just constantly like prepared. You've got your belt on. This is like an
Yes.
everyday thing that you have
Yeah.
just in case bad things happen.
Yeah, so I've got my multi-tool here, I've got my torch here. Basically, it's based on military.
Why are you so convinced though that something bad might happen?
I'm not living on a knife edge waiting for an apocalyptic situation or a stuff to hit the fan scenario. I'm actually enjoying this activity because even if I wasn't a prepper or your survivalist, this would be a leisure activity anyway.
What exactly made you become a prepper?
It was about, I'd say around about the time of the financial crash, but prior to that, about 20 years ago, I got thinking about certain things that were going on globally around the world and thought it's very unstable. So what would you do?
How did the canoe come into it? Because it's not the usual tool of choice for kind of surviving the apocalypse.
I love the waters.
What do you like? Do you have a wife and kids?
I have an ex-partner who's a mother of my son.
What do they think?
They know what I'm like. They know that I'm a bit of a free spirit.
Are they prepared as well? Like, is your son going to jump in the canoe with you?
Yeah, he's sort of interested in it because obviously I'm his dad. I've never forced anything on him, and I would never force anything or dictate and preach anything to anybody.
But is it like something you'd sit down with in the house and you're like, okay guys, today on the agenda is how to potentially bug out from the apocalypse? You know, you can't just disappear by yourself, can you? That would be kind of sad.
Yeah, exactly. We do have sort of strategies in place where certain family members could actually meet up, and there's a particular location where a certain family member lives, which is in the middle of a farm. We didn't have an apocalypse the other year when we had the riots, but within 3 days, major cities all up and down the country were having, whether it was anarchy, whatever you want to call it, or just chances, there were riots going on and people's lives were at risk. And I had a friend who lived in northwest London, and she was trapped in her flat because downstairs there was a no-go area where the law enforcement weren't going in. There were fires, cars were being set on light, and the lower ground floor properties were being broken into. So with something like that, I would get out of Dodge. It wasn't an apocalypse, but it was a social breakdown.
So you'd actually leave and get in a canoe if there was the riots again?
Yes.
You'd actually get in the canoe?
But because where I live, I'm quite lucky because I live in a rural area.
But what would the canoe do in that situation?
What would the
canoe do in like the riot situation?
It would get me to a location. It's a form of transit, and I can actually keep on the move.
You kind of disappear to like a riverbed, an island somewhere?
Yes. Under the dark, low light tends to be better, as with any activity that you want to do that's clandestine. Right guys, you're going to have to excuse me because I've got to bug out big time.
Yeah, it's a good look out there. So but what if I had a crossbow right now?
Say that again.
If I had a crossbow. You know, they sell crossbows, how are you going to survive that?
You better have a good eyesight for the dark.
If I'm firing from that, I can pop your canoe.
As Pete paddled away into the darkness, I wondered whether he really thought any of this was actually going to happen. And if it did, whether he truly thought the canoe would save him. I wondered this until my lack of preparation showed, and my camera fell into the water. Preppers prepare for a huge range of potential disasters, from nuclear war to financial collapse. A zombie apocalypse is even kind of one, if the definition of zombie is someone infected when a pandemic sweeps across a nation. They train by holding bug-out drills, where they test their skills by fleeing their homes and trying to escape. And as a new day began, I was on my way to meet the final person on this trip, Roach, to do just that.
Okay, so Roach has told me to come to this door, which is supposedly his house.
Roach is an ex-military man who spent most of his life in the force. He's now retired and runs a YouTube channel. The channel features him with guns, camping out, and cooking peach cobbler. Hidden in his house are scores of food in case of disaster, and he keeps a trailer to put on his car with enough supplies to keep his family going for 3 months. But he says being a prepper isn't easy. People have attacked him and set his car alight as a consequence. Despite this though, he agreed to show me an example of bugging out.
Awesome. Well, I have my bug out bag. I'm ready to learn how to survive every possibility.
The specific scenario we were doing was in the case of contagion, or a pandemic.
It's not the most inconspicuous tent, is it? How do you kind of hide it?
I'll go out of the woods, tell me if you can see it. This isn't survival, you know. What this is for me is living simply.
The rustics.
So the fact that we're in the woods is by the by.
In the space of about 30 minutes, we have set up camp, we've got a fire, we've got some food, he's cooking some mangoes and mash. Life is good, but we're still in a forest, so it's not that good. If you know, there was contagion and some zombie-like creatures came out and basically tried to attack you,
I'd kill them.
how? With the knife or something?
With anything. With anything.
But would you?
With anything like
Would
this.
you try and? It's all
With
going
anything.
wrong.
With your
It's all
hands,
going-
with a piece of
No, but
wood.
would you try and like bail out though?
Yeah,
If
of
there
course,
was people who
of
came,
course.
would that be the first thing you did, or would you try and fight back?
Ultimately, it's, you know, it's, there are so many possibles.
It's been a good day, Roach. I have learned a lot.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
So we've built this place, which is impressive.
It's just a base, it's a little base.
But what do you think this will protect you from? Because it's not going to protect from a nuclear war, for example, is it?
No.
Or anything like that. And if there was if everybody was fleeing from the house, there's probably going to be other people in this forest. So how
Yep.
far do you think this could realistically protect them?
It doesn't matter. Today, right now, it's a safe haven. If there was a pandemic, there aren't any other people here, so we're not going to get affected.
There
Yeah.
might be though.
There might be, and when there are, we'll have to assess those risks as they arise.
So do you think that deep down inside, you kind of, because you've spent so long preparing for it, you kind of hope something's going to happen?
No, I don't. I don't want the world to end. I don't want bad things to happen to good people, you know. But I'm not in control of the world.
Are you paranoid?
No.
You're not paranoid. You don't, because to think about, I just suppose most people don't really think about such consequences and such potential disasters.
Yeah, but you do. You're here.
Yeah. That's because I'm interested in everything, I
Okay.
suppose.
Lots of people are interested. Lots of people are interested.
Some people would say that you're taking this too far.
To a degree, they're absolutely right. What you could do is put every spare penny you've got in the bank for a rainy day. That's prepping. You know, you could pay off your mortgage 10 years early. Whatever you decide you have to do to prepare for the future, that makes you a prepper.
It's hard to say how many preppers there are in the UK, as most are individuals who keep it behind closed doors. And for the ones who do go public, like Roach, Pete and Lincoln, they're sometimes criticised and labelled as paranoid, seemingly playing army games to pass the time as they wait for something bad to happen. But is there more to it than that? The preppers find comfort in the idea that they'll have some sort of control of the outcome of their lives, no matter the circumstance. But whether all their preparations will give them any sort of advantage in the unlikely event the world falls apart is another question.